Okay, so here's a story coming out of New Mexico. This has to do with a child dying, and we're not for sure if it's abuse or not. But there's a twist to the story. There's a twist to the story. So this is the mother, and the mother, she was on meth during the pregnancy, and then she was also homeless at the time, and so the Child Services, CYFD, Children, Youth, and Families Department in New Mexico, they went ahead and took the child away from her. So it wasn't in the mother's custody. So she is not at fault. Not directly, at least. She's not at fault at all. So what this case proves, and then there's a statement that CYFD had put out, which was so ludicrous, because you'd like to think you call the authorities, there's child abuse, then the child abuse stops. If they need to be taken out of the home and then put into a foster home, then that'll be a good foster home, and then that'll be good for them. But it seems like it's a money-making thing. I don't know exactly how the foster system works, but I don't know if they get money from the state in order to take care of children. But if it's a money thing, then there's a incentive there to make profit instead of caring about the overall well-being for the child. A baby taken to the hospital Monday in a case police are investigating as child abuse has died. The baby's name is Skylar, so R.I.P. to Skylar, 10-month-old girl. She was in the CYFD custody and was living with the foster family. They said that the other children in the foster family are taken out and we're just supposed to trust them. Orwell had said something about the final order of the state is to ignore your eyes and ears and just believe the reality that they tell you is the truth. And then, of course, Paulo Freire says that oppressors have a love of death. So her mom, this is Nancy Magana, she didn't get much of a chance to know her daughter. And then she, says that if the daughter was in her care, then this wouldn't have happened. That's true. If it was in her care, that wouldn't have happened. Maybe something else would have, but that specifically wouldn't have happened. So this woman here is not at fault. She's not at fault. The Child Services is at fault, and whatever happened in that foster family house is at fault. And then we haven't heard about any charges being leveled against this foster family. So let's take a look at some of the details. She's saying she don't think she could cry anymore. And then when they told her what had happened, they said that she was in critical condition. So they take the baby away from the mother, and then the next time she hears about her baby, oh, she's brain dead and in the hospital. She's breathing on a ventilator. Skylar was found with no pulse. They investigated the case as child abuse at a home on Krim Drive in northeast Albuquerque on Monday. Magana said she lost custody of Skylar. She had meth, and then she was also homeless. But then she was working on getting sober. She found a friend to stay with, and she had only stayed there for a couple of days. And her friend said that she could stay there and that she would try to help her get her daughter back. Now she doesn't get that chance anymore. Now she doesn't get that chance to get her daughter back. Nobody has been charged in the case. It's an active investigation, so police aren't going to share what had caused the baby's injuries. So just putting the baby in a foster care system doesn't solve the problem. Ideally, what you would want is for the mother to... Why don't we have child care in this country? We spend fucking billions and billions of dollars on so much dumb shit. Billions and billions of dollars on so much dumb shit. Bureaucracy and genocide. We're going to cut social services and then amp up the war machine. And so it doesn't, it dawns on me that the genocide in Palestine just shows how the empire doesn't give a damn about children. They don't give a damn about children. And so these stories are reoccurring more and more. Let's listen to this statement, okay? They sent the following statement. So Jennifer Weber sent a statement, the Director of Public Affairs for Child Services in New Mexico, CYFD. We are heartbroken by the tragic death of this innocent child. Due to the ongoing investigation, there is limited information we could share about this case. Ongoing investigation? How much investigation do you really need to goddamn motherfucking do? It happened in that house. It was this person and that person. You could tell us who the people were, who were the possible suspects. There's no charges. There's going to be no pressure to put any charges on the people that had caused the death of Skylar. They'll say, oh, the mother was on meth. The mother was homeless. She couldn't take care of itself. And then because it has to do with a foster family that they put inside the care, now they're limiting their liability. However, in general, when a child enters state custody, especially in cases involving substance exposure at birth, CYFD's goal is to ensure the safety of the child. Well, you fucked up there. You didn't care about the safety. The safety of the child was not the main priority. If appropriate, CYFD works towards reunification with the biological family when it is safe. If appropriate. It's always appropriate. Ideally, you want the family that had the baby to take care of the baby. So, whatever was stopping them, I mean, sometimes it's almost love, right? What's that one song? It was almost love. It was almost love. When my skin gets old, that's when my skin gets old and my breath turns cold, I'll be thinking about you. It was almost love. It was almost love. This includes making efforts to maintain contact and communication, providing opportunities for visitation, updates on the child's well-being unless there are court-ordered limitations or safety concerns that prevent this. Wow, so many protocols are in place. Unfortunately, to err is human. That's why, forgiveness is divine. So taking a human out of human hands and then putting it into the hands of other humans, that's a problem. That's a problem. And then if there's a profit incentive to the whole damn thing, maybe there's just not enough foster families. Maybe there just aren't enough good families that are willing to adopt. And then people could surprise you too. People could surprise you too. Yeah, she was on meth and homeless at the time. She was staying with her friends. But it's like, you got to get your life in order first, and then we'll give you your child. And this is coming from people that's being paid by the state. Okay, well, you got a state job. So why don't you hire me and, then I'll have a good job, and then I'll be able to pay the things I need to pay for my child. Oh, we're not going to do that. So you have a bunch of middle-class people looking down on poor people and then saying, well, you need this and that and the other. And you do need a good environment. You do need CYFD attorneys in the court monitor the progress and compliance of parents during this time. Oh, fucking lawyers, huh? Yeah, we got lawyers who's going to sit there and what? Give a shit about the child? Lawyers don't give a fuck about anybody. Lawyers are absolute parasites on the system. The only reason you need lawyers is because of lawyers. You can tell when a lawyer is lying when he moves his lips or her lips. What do you call 10,000 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean? It's a good start. In accordance with federal requirements, resource foster parents go through a process including a background check, investigative home study, and a thorough assessment of family dynamics through interviews, home visits, inspections, and through training program participation. Oh, well, shit, you have all the protocols in place, so, how could that ever, mess up? How could that not work out? CYFD is unable to disclose whether other children were in the home. However, when an investigation of a foster family occurs, children in the home are removed while safety in the home is assessed. Says you. We're just supposed to believe this shit. Clearly, abuse had happened, some neglect or some violent abuse had happened. It was because of that foster family, that foster home, and charges should be filed. As much as I hate the Leviathan, sometimes the damn thing goes too damn far, and the Leviathan is the exact remedy to the injury. You're supposed to be a good foster family. I mean, they did all these home visits and inspections and training programs, right? They did all these interviews and an investigative home study and a background check. So they had a clean background check. They did investigative home study, a thorough assessment of family dynamics. I mean, how come the thorough assessment of family dynamics didn't? And then ultimately, the way I understand things is that you have to make sure people do right. So you got to have pressure to do right. Who's going to make sure that Child Services does right? Child Services will say, you got to do right, but who makes sure Child Services does right? If they're the state, then that means it's up to the people, which means the state's going to get away with this. They're going to get away with this. We are deeply committed to understanding what happened in this case and to ensuring accountability and transparency. Yeah, right. This is just a bunch of bullshit. We are dedicated to transparency. Well, who did it? We're not going to tell you. Well, what happened? Well, we're not going to tell you that either. Okay, well then, what about the charges? When are you going to press some charges? We're not going to tell you that either. But we're deeply committed to understanding what happened and to ensure accountability and transparency. If there are any failures in process or communication, they will be addressed.